welcome to the SciFirst MovieTalk episode. So in this episode, I'll be discussing the 1990 made-for-TV movie Clarence, as directed by Eric Till. Now, surprisingly, Clarence, believe it or not, is actually a sequel, well, I suppose spin-off would be more the accurate term, to the 1946 all-time classic, It's a Wonderful Life. This time concentrating on the angel featured in the aforementioned movie, Clarence Oddbody. I can honestly say that I'd never heard of this film before, never mind the fact that there was actually a sequel of any sort to It's a Wonderful Life. But nonetheless, as dire and as completely unnecessary as it might actually sound, here we have Clarence. So, I'm going to kind of add a bit of a disclaimer here when all's said and done. This film is rare in some respects. I couldn't find it on any of the main kind of streaming sites. In fact, I did actually find it on the Roku channel here in the United Kingdom. Managed to watch it, no problem. And usually what I do is I watch the film, and if I have any kind of problems or issues with names or places, dates, times and that kind of thing, to get my facts right, I'll go back through the film, rewatch what I need to, get the details from it so I can put it into the review. Problem is, in this instance, it wasn't on the Roku channel the day after. I must have looked out something chronic to actually watch this film the night that it was actually getting taken off the streaming service. So usually sometimes you can get films like this on YouTube. Nope, it wasn't on YouTube. It's not on Amazon, not in the United Kingdom at least. It might be in the United States. It won't let me look. So I don't actually know. But nonetheless, yeah, so some of the facts and figures I have kind of omitted here. So usually where I'd give you the names of the people that played the characters, some of them are missing because I don't actually know who they are. I didn't get that information the first time around, unfortunately. But not only that, you're just going to have to listen to me waffle on. I can't get any images to make the clips that I normally would put into the episodes these days. So this is an old school SciFirst MovieTalk episode. We are back to just me giving it loads, you know? But nonetheless, if you can cope with that, hopefully you enjoy this. And as I said, a bit of an obscure film here, when all's said and done. Its only link to It's a Wonderful Life is the character of Clarence Oddbody himself, this time as played by Robert Carradine. The film has nothing to do with any of the other characters from the classic 1946 movie at all. And although it does make reference to one of Clarence's previous missions as a guardian angel involving George Bailey and Bedford Falls, the original protagonist and setting, of course, respectively for It's a Wonderful Life, otherwise nothing, no other links whatsoever. Following his earlier mission to save George from the brink of despair, Clarence has now got his wings. But he has since kind of suffered a series of setbacks, with his last mission going somewhat indiscriminately awry. Now, studiously keeping himself busy looking after a bunch of clocks in heaven and actively avoiding his guardian angel duties, Clarence is asked to help to save the life of a wife of a fellow angel. So Rachel is the name of the wife, as played by Kate Trotter. I can't remember the name of the angel. But Kate is going down a dark path of despair following the death of her husband and having been left in control of a struggling business. Reluctantly, as the only guardian angel once more that is available, Clarence agrees to help his friend, but finds his task ever more difficult as now the rules have changed. Nobody must know he's a guardian angel, and he can't just kind of use his magic to make everything better this time. This time he's out on his own, with severe repercussions for breaking the rules, the loss of his wings. Clarence must therefore prove he can step up his game and turn Rachel's life around, uniting the family and facing off against an unscrupulous software developer who will stop at nothing to take Rachel's business right from beneath her feet. So I do seem to have gone through a bit of a spate of films this year where I found a series of obscure and probably best forgotten sequels to some of the most classic movies made, and strangely enough all made for TV. From this not so aptly titled, Look What's Happened to Rosemary's Baby, a made-for-TV sequel to Roman Polanski's classic 1968 psychological horror Rosemary's Baby, and indeed this, Clarence, a sequel to come spin-off to one of cinema's festive greats. Weird, 22, weird. And not only that, it wasn't as though any of the aforementioned films needed a sequel, nor did anybody even ask for them. But they saved up some schlock and slapped it on TV nonetheless. Now, perhaps I am being a bit harsh on this one. It's a TV movie, so I've got to kind of take that certainly under consideration. But really, a sequel to It's a Wonderful Life? What on earth were they thinking? This movie is so far removed from It's a Wonderful Life, it may as well have been a standalone film about angels anyway. But here we find ourselves. I mean, it's perhaps an odd slant to take on, from the original film's one of the secondary characters and spin out a sequel from this idea. Clarence Oddbody wasn't somebody we really needed to know all that well in the original, but we had all that we needed, He was a facilitator to the story and a major component at that, but with little needed character development. Nonetheless, I never felt myself yearning to know more about the character. And unfortunately, Clarence doesn't really give us anything more about the character that we hadn't already come to know. Even when it tries to kind of dish up some dirt about his last mission, we never find anything out. What went wrong? It all remains a mystery. This might have at least provided some backbone for Clarence's history as an angel and, kind of speak to his frame of mind going in to help Rachel. The film does make a point of referencing Bedford Falls and indeed George Bailey quite early on to kind of establish that it was intended to be set within the same continuity and the fact that Clarence actually got his wings as promised for helping George. But this time we do find out a lot more about the angels. Apparently, they age in reverse. Odd. As they do good deeds. I mean, I would suppose that's to cover the fact, basically, that somehow Clarence is much younger than he was back in 1946. And apparently, the regime is now a lot more regulated and bureaucratic than it once was. It can all get a little bit slapstick. It's a childish movie at times, but then Clarence is depicted to be this kind of innocent soul, as he was in It's a Wonderful Life. But to accomplish this, often his childlike antics kind of do come across as a little bit cringy, hadn't quite got the adult and the kid thing kind of down in this one. But all told, it is actually Carradine that makes this film for what it's worth. His energy and commitment to the role actually make it reasonably watchable. Sort of like a Heaven Can Wait meets Quantum Leap. It was, when all said and done, reasonably warming and sentimental, and Carradine's performance kind of goes a long way in this respect. There are in fact some kind of sweetly charming moments between Clarence and Rachel's daughter, as she tries to kind of figure out if he is an angel or not, and that's what kind of did remind me of Quantum Leap. A few moments that do kind of manage to put a little bit of a smile on your face. I do think it would have benefited heavily from being more festive. It was set at Christmas time, but looked like everybody was gearing up for a summer holiday. I mean, even if it was set in Australia, which it isn't, a bit more tinsel and glitter wouldn't have actually gone amiss, I suppose they did at least have the forethought to set it at Christmas to kind of cash in a little bit on that seasonal magic. It just doesn't really feel all that festive. Overall, it is what it is. An early 90s TV Christmas movie. As a sequel to one of the most beloved festive classics of all time, it's pretty dire, and certainly more than basic, being very much non-offensive, fairly bland, mild Christmas fodder. However, I wouldn't quite classify it as a Christmas turkey. Carradine has quite a bit of fun with the role, and it has some kind of sweet moments that are worth a smile or two, with a kind of certain charm that certainly warmed me to it by the end. It's another curiosity piece, and not much more, mostly leaning on the framework for It's a Wonderful Life that had kind of already been established, but this time taking the story from Clarence's perspective instead. I must admit, for as much as I thought it was a waste of and completely unnecessary tale, I also found it to be reasonably watchable and not really paced all that badly. It certainly had a shaky start and more than its fair share of cringy moments. But there was this kind of underlying heartwarming quality to it that, whilst not being as an emotional rollercoaster, did manage to kind of bring some kind of endearing family elements that worked as well as they were ever going to, you know? So, that brings me to the end of this episode. Many thanks for watching and bearing with it. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like. Please do hit that subscribe button for more movie reviews, trailer reactions and other movie-related content. Absolutely loved having you at SciFirst MovieTalk and definitely love to have you back. Most of all, just thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.